This presentation is going to demonstrate the technology known as API Security Gateway technology and how it is modernizing the IT security architecture landscape. At Forum Systems, we have been a global leader in security and access control solutions since establishment in 2001. We are a USA-based company, and all engineering, product support, and technology is based here in the United States. We focus on deep content inspection, layer 4 through 7 identity, data security, access control, and integration capabilities as it aligns with modern day technologies and cybersecurity access control posture for mobility, cloud, and on-premise application protection. The focus of today's presentation is going to bring to bear the various capabilities of the gateway technology as it pertains specifically to the DHA DHITS Gen 1 solution areas, namely Task Areas 6, Task Area 7, and Task Area 8. Our qualifications are extensive, and we have a significant number of deployments across government agencies in the United States as well as worldwide. We are the only accredited FIPS 140-2 Level 2 and NDPP gateway technology. And through the course of our deployments since establishment of the company, our adherence to quality and success of our technology deployments is unrivaled. We have a 100% deployment success rate for all deployed technology since inception of the company. For the purposes of our DHA DHITS solution areas, our teaming contact is Randy Gardner, whose number and information can be found here at 703-915-0371. To talk about the specifics of the technology, are first to talk about the unique qualifications that our technology has in the industry. The Forum Sentry, as the product is called, API Security Gateway, is the only gateway to have achieved a FIPS 140-2 Level 2 certification, an NDPP certification, has an embedded integrated FIPS 140-2 HSM and a U.S. patent on cryptographic acceleration for enterprise class speeds and protection of PKI information flows, as well as a U.S. Department of Defense certification for PKI processing. All of this is based on technology that has no OpenSSL libraries and no C-based libraries or vulnerabilities inherent in solutions that integrate those types of open source libraries. The fundamental aspects of what the Forum Sentry API Security Gateway provide is the combination of identity management access control along with security and information security at the border and perimeter of information exchange, ranging from the capabilities to unify identity management across the spectrum of different protocols and modern day message and structured message formats. Enable the gateway to become an intermediary by which all identity management access control enforcement can occur and be provided for seamlessly with out-of-the-box policies and simple provisioning of point-and-click capabilities, again designed to facilitate access control and single sign-on, coupled with the diversity of and complexity of different client technologies that are consuming services and data across a particular information border, often at the network edge. The unique qualifications of API security gateways as they pertain and differ from other IT security landscape architecture is the combination of the robustness of how much capability with regard to identity access control and the integration points with all other parts of ecosystems with regard to IDM systems, role-based access control, attribute-based access control, content-based access control, and specifically marrying that within the technology with threat mitigation capabilities to inspect and detect deep content capabilities, and understand and detect this information within the context of the data itself, and focusing on those characteristics as they pertain to the types and structures of message formats that align with most modern day information exchanges, from mobility and MDM to API technologies to SOA technologies to structured XML message exchanges and RESTful message exchanges. Comprehensive underlying technology and PKI engine capability ensure the ability to secure data in motion and data at rest with content encryption, decryption, and full tunneling protection for SSL/TLS capabilities. That also lends itself to integrity and trust with full spectrum of digital signature capabilities, signature verification, and schema validation to enforce data patterns and ensure clean message exchanges from consumer to client, and intrusion detection analysis and data leakage prevention for bidirectional information flow security, coupled with, again, the identity, such that the unique qualifications of the API Security Gateway bring to bear and combine at the network edge identity access control with data security, so far more comprehensive contextual analysis can be accomplished. This technology has evolved over many years in the industry in the critical path. It is comprised of a significant number of capabilities and underlying technology components that have undergone, as noted previously, FIPS and NDPP certifications, DoD PKI certifications. But ultimately, it's a technology platform that's meant to be universal, vendor agnostic, and standards based, such that it can be seamlessly adapted to any environment, whether cloud environments, virtual environments, or on-premise environments. And by intent, gateway technology is designed to be interoperable and facilitate information exchange with virtually any type of client-based technology and any type of server infrastructure technology. And it is that universal applicability that enables API gateways to simplify and streamline architectures while also providing a much lower threshold of risk posture and a much higher level of security capabilities. So let's talk about how API gateways modernize the IT security architecture. The familiar look of legacy IT security architecture is comprised of necessary IT security architecture components that the gateway does not displace, but rather fills the gap and the void of white space that's left with functionality and capabilities that these other infrastructure components do not provide for. Certainly, you will always want a firewall and WAF capability and IDS capability and event monitoring in the infrastructure IT security layer. But where the gateway, API Security Gateway comes in is at that border perimeter edge, is augmenting the capabilities at that layer of the IT security, whereby the secure gateway, FIPS and NDPP compliant gateway, can be at the information border and provide for a comprehensive set of the identity access control mechanisms for attribute-based access control, role-based access control, and content-based access control, all unified. And in addition, the various security aspects: protocol break, deep content inspection, data validation for the assurance of clean message patterns, threat analytics, integrated antivirus scanning of binary and base64 embedded information, which would normally pass through most antivirus engines completely undetected. And most importantly, cryptographic acceleration for PKI security for enterprise class performance, so that the security and identity capabilities don't impede business process, but rather improve efficiency through purpose-built technology that can do these types of heavy lifting analytics at enterprise class speeds. How does the gateway do this? So the combination of how the gateway combines security with identity around attribute-based access control, role-based access control, and content-based access control. Let's take a look at how gateways effectively process the information flow. They present effectively a virtual layer, a virtual consuming API, as it's known as, a doorway into your services or data. The gateway is a facilitator of information exchange. So your clients or consumers simply communicate with those services in the same manner, but it's intercepted by the gateway. The gateway, through interception, becomes actually the virtual endpoint that the clients and consumers communicate with. Again, just as if they were communicating with the endpoint service. But that virtual API represents a protocol break whereby the actual message payload is received and inspected through deep-level content analysis, content-based access control, by inspecting and determining the nature of the protocol, the nature of the data exchange, and the information format. Inspecting that and the criteria therein, aligning with the data patterns of expectation according to the types of services, the types of clients, and the types of data information flows and structural information flows that are expected to occur. And this design pattern validation enables checking and deep content analysis, ensuring that information going in as well as information leaving the boundary of border information exchange is analyzed. Combining that with the identity and modern-day identity formats such as OAuth and SAML and standards-based identities around WS security tokens and protocol identities and PKI identities through X509, Common Access Card, Smart Card capabilities, unify the identity access control ability for the gateway to perform these functions in conjunction with the content analysis and determine authorization, authentication, and roles. Furthermore, analyzing attributes that may either be resident within existing message patterns or in externalized sources, whereby those attributes of target or attributes of sources or environmental conditions can weigh in and be a part of the decision-making process of access control and feed into the ability for the gateway to make those determinations in real time as those messages come in. Ultimately, upon the analysis, those information exchanges are brokered on behalf of the client, again with the protocol break, such that the external parties don't have direct access to the services. The brokered request comes in, the service layer responds to those just as it always would with direct client access. Now on the response is where the characteristic of response analysis and data leakage come in, by inspecting those message patterns and combining those same types of logical criterion about the client and user and environment and other characteristics of that inbound request correlated with the response in order to ensure that information exchange that's flowing out is logically tied to, again, the type of client, the type of consumer, perhaps the type of mobile device or environment where it's being accessed from, so that the services layer is performing its function, but the gateway is determining the viability and whether or not these types of message patterns should be allowed based on all these additional criteria, not only disallowing requests in, but focusing also on information leaving the boundary to ensure that that's filtered appropriately, rejected, and certainly at least correlated with that information exchange for auditing purposes. Ultimately, then the gateway brokers that service response. And to the client and service, it's simply the same data pattern information exchange that had always occurred, with all of that intermediary capability facilitated seamlessly by the API Security Gateway. So let's give a live deployment example. We have many, but in the interest of time, we'll give one that's probably applicable to virtually everyone in the United States. The IRS launched a project called Modernization in E-File back in around the 2005 timeframe. It was the largest software project ever developed in the United States. Every tax return, business and personal, can now be filed today electronically. In fact, there are over 200 million filings in the year 2014. These filings and this information exchange had a number of core requirements that were set forth with regard to intercepting at the border edge that information exchange from the external filing parties. And those core requirements fell across several areas. One, the key was interoperability. Since there was such a diversity of clients, needed a technology that could be able to facilitate interoperability with many different client variants. Two-factor authentication with a PKI component and a single sign-on component. The ability to do threat mitigation by detecting embedded malware inside encoded and encrypted data. The ability to generate and consume SAML assertions for single sign-on purposes. The ability to convert protocols from HTTPS to MQ. And the necessity to have a FIPS certified architecture for deployment in the DMZ, where key compromise and policy compromise must be not possible through the certification architecture of hardened industry technology. Well, all of these requirements are fulfilled by Forum Sentry, and Forum Sentry has been the perimeter gateway since 2005 in the IRS critical path, performing all of those functional capabilities at the border edge, and facilitating that information exchange and securing that information exchange for the revenue stream of the United States government, and doing so across a sophisticated set of every different variant of electronic tax filings there are, and across the diversity and complexity of different filing entities, different filing formats, different cryptography requirements, all unified through simplified point-and-click policies and purpose-built technology to effectively secure that information edge and unify the identity and security at that layer. This is one example of many that we have to bring to bear in the industry around leading use cases and very highly evident and visible use cases. But in this proposal, we want to showcase the capabilities and applicability of the API Security Gateway as it applies to the proposed solution for the end state of the DHITS initiative. And ultimately, those task areas 6, 7, and 8 that were noted previously are around the various capabilities of integration services, infrastructure protection, digital government. So if we look at what these focus on, in Task Area 6, integration services is supporting the development and deployment of integrated information systems, which includes integration of technical components, information components, organizational components. Integration inherently lends itself to the nature of gateway technology. Gateways are integration mechanisms to facilitate easier interoperability without having to tightly couple services with consumers. And that information exchange becomes much more seamless and easily done, and integration becomes much more seamless and easily done with gateway technology. Critical infrastructure protection, information assurance, confidentiality, integrity, availability, accountability, authentication, non-repudiation, detection, monitoring, event react capabilities. These are all core tenets of the API Security Gateway technology. The information exchange assurance, the data pattern validation, the PKI engine, and the underlying privacy, encryption, and digital signature capabilities. These are inherently the core value aspects of the engine underneath the API Security Gateway capabilities and directly applicable. Digital government is the means by which, through digital electronic means, creating transparent interaction between government and citizens, G2C. Well, this is the idea of APIs, to expose communication points in a secure manner with identity access control and single sign-on for modern initiatives to externalize data and modernize the information exchange, but maintain a security posture and maintain agility in enablement of consumption of digital information while not compromising security and identity. Those are the hallmarks of what API gateway technologies are designed to facilitate. And all of these areas are precisely what the Forum Sentry API Security Gateway is designed to do and does in the industry each and every day. The primary contact for this information, again to note, is Randy Gardner, and we'll be talking about basically how the DHA DHITS end state effectively as sort of promoted to look like. The ultimate goal is to have communities of interest that can share data and information exchange. And within healthcare, one of the key considerations is privacy of information flow, is selectable accessibility of information, but wanting to combine that with interoperability and sharing information across information borders, and an enablement of an ecosystem that ultimately allows information exchange and data exchanges, but doesn't sacrifice the ability to secure information and ensure the privacy of data, both in motion and at rest. And it's at those critical integration points where the Forum Sentry enterprise capabilities of the gateway technology facilitate that very thing, facilitate those interconnected aspects of then building that network of information exchange, utilizing the purpose-built capabilities of API security gateways to unify information security, to assure data privacy, to enable a much more agile approach to sharing information, to externalizing information without sacrificing the security and access control necessity of the sensitivity of information exchange within this realm of data flow. And it is really primarily there where the Forum Sentry API Gateway is a perfect fit for those requirements. Thank you again for the time today, and the primary contact again for learning more about the Forum Sentry API Security Gateway solution is Randy Gardner. Information is presented here via email or phone. Thank you.